Well, hey everybody, welcome back. It's really Ringwood. It's the week. We're recording this the week of early voting. So
yes.
If you haven't gotten out to early vote, get out and do it. I won't ask anybody on the show panel here if you've done it yet. Has anyone here gone out to do it?
I have mailed in my mail-in
Oh,
ballot.
fantastic! Well,
I am going in a day or two to early vote.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So if you're listening to this before Sunday, November 5th, we'll have a link in the show notes so that you'll know where to do your early voting. After that, of course, polling places here in Ringwood will be open on November 7th. Make sure you get there. It's important. Get out there and vote.
Especially in a town the size of Ringwood, every vote truly does count. I know at times it can feel like your national votes are a drop in the bucket, but in Ringwood, your vote does matter.
It is. If you actually look back on some of the results in our town, sometimes the difference is, tens, single digits,
Exactly.
And that single digit could be you. So if you've got your convictions, who you want to vote for, make sure you get out and do it.
No excuses.
No
Go
excuses.
Vote.
No. Now, we have laid out for you over the course of this past season lots of facts about what happens here in Ringwood. We've talked about things like high-density housing. We've talked about things like council members being appointed, not elected. We think we've given you a pretty good understanding of what's happening here in Ringwood from a issues standpoint.
Right. So, we know a lot of you listening, take the time to listen to us because you agree with us, because you disagree with us. But regardless, you're listening and you're thinking about what's important to what happens here in Ringwood.
Yes, but we don't want to talk to you today. If you're someone who pays attention to the issues, if you have a lawn sign for either party on your front lawn, your mind is made up. You have done what you think is sufficient research. We're talking to the folks who maybe don't follow the issues as much, who maybe haven't made up their minds quite yet. We want to say this. If the issues don't matter to you, which we think they should, but if they don't, we think that the tone of conversation in Ringwood does matter. And this is an election that you can change that tone.
So this is just a few days before Election Day, and as anyone who's relatively active on social media knows, Facebook can get ugly during an election season. And if you are on Facebook, you've probably seen many of the bickering and bantering and attacks that go back and forth between our neighbors. It's a problem. It's a real problem in Ringwood when we feel like we are emboldened and can just criticize people, call people names, and say whatever we want from behind a keyboard.
Right. And the problem is there are two key critical Facebook groups that exist in our town that are walled off from anybody else unless you happen to follow their ideology, their way of looking at things, because otherwise you will be bullied and then kicked out and then banned and you won't be able to come back in. So it's an echo chamber that many of us that are involved in the show are in there to be able to see. And for any of you that live in Ringwood and you see the kind of bickering and bantering that goes on and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, these are my neighbors. How can I do something about this? What can be done about the tone that is struck in our town when we should be acting as a community?
And, you may say, well, how can this election impact that? Well, I want to point to a couple of things that have happened this election cycle. One side of the political aisle, those who happen to be in charge, have gone after the candidates' personal lives. They have gone after their families. They have done everything but paint a scarlet letter on the other side and made it a very, very nasty, contentious election. And one side has decidedly not done that.
So are you convinced yet that the tone starts at the top? Because when we're talking about things like the mayor of our town sending a mailer only to one party, only focusing on making it easy for one party to vote, that's part of the problem. That's part of what we're talking about. When you look at the mailers that the Republican candidates have been sending out, digging up things from the past, trying to rewrite history, bringing up family members and bringing, irrelevant pieces of information into this. They're not looking at the facts. They're not looking at the issues. They're not looking at what they've done themselves. They're just trying to bring up other things that just don't matter.
Right. And then the tone is divisive. It's combative. And then you start to see their followers, their campaign surrogates on social media start posting about all kinds of crazy, not even conspiracy theories, but just direct attacks on individuals on social media. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. Whether that is, people are going to call each other names. We get that. But when it comes to us in the community, we should be able to talk a little more freely about what we believe without being worried about getting bullied or beaten down by the same 5 or 10 or 15 surrogates of those who are directly attached to or in lockstep with those who are in power in Ringwood.
Especially when their information is not necessarily thoroughly researched, they haven't done their due diligence, and sometimes they're just making stuff up.
And that is what we're talking about, because the more you're able to amplify complete bullshit, let's just call it what it is, it becomes fact and it becomes relevant to those that don't know otherwise. We have done our best as a show to tell you when it is and tell you when things are not exactly as they were depicted in your mailers, in your messaging. And we think we've done a good job there. But again, let's talk about the tone. And it starts at the top.
So, Ringwood, we've been speaking to you at length on a variety of issues over the past several months, and now we are just a few days away from Election Day. We've told you about the issues, we've given you links to do your own research, we've talked now about the tone and how it starts at the top, and so you have to ask yourselves, is this tone, is this culture in Ringwood something that you want to continue, or do you want something different for yourselves?
Right. Do you want to see a fresh start? Do you want to see a Board of Ed focused on our future and not be politics before academics? These are the questions that you need to ask yourselves over the next couple of days as you think about when you're going to early vote, as you think about what you're going to do when you get to the ballot box. But there is an opportunity here, a huge opportunity, an opportunity the likes of which we've not seen in Ringwood in a long time. And that is to make change that'll actually be beneficial to the community as a whole. And this is our appeal to you as part of basically the end of this season of what we would say is really Ringwood.
The ball's in your court. Please go vote, make your voice heard, and we'll be back at some point after the election to talk about it all.
Yep. Hey, thanks for liking us. Thanks for hating us, but thanks for keeping the conversation going. Be a community, get out and vote.
Go vote.